Introduction. You are walking on a road. The vehicles on the road are passing by. They release smoke while passing. You suddenly feel it is difficult to breathe. Why it is so? Let's know the reason behind this. Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain the atmosphere, demonstrate presence of air in water and soil, describe air pollution, its reason and effects. Our Earth is surrounded with the blanket of several gases called atmosphere. This atmosphere contains mainly nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen and carbon dioxide along with some other gases. The atmosphere protects us from some harmful rays that can come from sun. Atmosphere plays a very important role in regulating the temperature of Earth in order to sustain life on it. We know that all plants and animals need air to breathe. The animals living on the land part breathe in the oxygen present in the air. We can't live in water. When the divers go inside water, they carry oxygen cylinder with them. See this whale. How does it breathe? Similarly, how do the aquatic plants get carbon dioxide and oxygen in water? You'll be surprised to know that they breathe air only. Don't believe? Come, let us do an activity. Take some water in a beaker. Heat it to boil. Can you see the bubbles coming out? Where are these bubbles coming from? These are coming from water only. Air remains dissolved in water at normal temperature, so we can't see it. When water is heated, the dissolved air comes out as bubbles. The animals and plants in water use the dissolved oxygen for respiration. How do the organisms living in soil get oxygen? To know this, take some soil in a bowl and pour some water on it. What do you see? You can see that air bubbles are coming out of soil. When water is added to the soil, it replaces the air present in the soil. The air in the soil comes out as bubbles. The organisms living in burrows and holes of the soil use this trapped air to breathe. During rainy season, when water is filled in the burrows and holes, these animals have to come out for respiration. Several billions of humans, animals and other organisms are consuming huge amount of oxygen from atmosphere every day. So why the oxygen reserves in atmosphere does not finish up? Do you know how? The plants produce oxygen during photosynthesis. This oxygen is released in the atmosphere. Plants also consume oxygen for respiration, but they produce more of it than they consume. So the plants silently save us from dying without even being noticed. What if carbon dioxide is pumped more into atmosphere and it is beyond the capacity of plants to maintain the carbon dioxide-oxygen balance? What if other harmful gases are released in the atmosphere? The answer is, it results in air pollution. Cars, scooters, air conditioners, refrigerators, and many other things release harmful gases that pollute air. The enormous amount of carbon dioxide formed during burning of coal also pollutes air. The substances that cause air pollution are called pollutants. Mainly, air pollutants are the gases discharges from industry and motor vehicles. Air pollution also creates global problems such as ozone depletion by the gas like chlorofluorocarbon and global warming by carbon dioxide. Air pollution can be prevented by taking simple measures like using public transport rather than own vehicle, reducing the use of wood in daily life, planting more trees around us, sharing the items like air conditioner with others, preparing manure from the dried leaves and other biodegradable wastes rather than burning them, reducing the use of perfumes, deodorants, etc. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. The envelope of air surrounding the Earth is called atmosphere. It is essential for life on Earth. Animals and plants living in water uses dissolved air for respiration. Animals living in soil use the trapped air in it for respiration. Air pollution is the contamination of the atmosphere by harmful gases and particulates.
कोई भी सपना साकार करने के लिए सबसे जरूरी है सही कोच का होना। चुनिए कोचिंग प्लस को और करें अपने स्कूल कोचिंग और वैकेंसी एग्जाम का सपना साकार। Download the app now.
Able to define air, explain the different constituents of air, discuss the properties and uses of air, explain air as a mixture. Are you feeling hot due to lack of air? Now put your ceiling fan on. You can feel the presence of air. You must have sensed the nice cold breeze in a fine morning. This is also due to movement of air. This moving air is called wind. We can know the direction of wind with the help of wind vanes. Air is colorless and enables us to see everything through it as it is. It has no smell and taste. Air occupies space. To understand this, take a pitcher and dip straight into the water. See, no water enters into the pitcher. Now tilt the pitcher slightly. See, the air bubbles are coming out of the pitcher and water starts entering into it. So you can see that the pitcher is not empty. Air that was present in the pitcher is coming out. This shows that air occupies space. Inflate an air pillow. What do you see? It grows in size. This shows that air occupies space and has no definite shape. Air has weight as well. Put the air-filled ball on one side of a balance and a similar empty and squeezed ball on the other side. You can see the pan with squeezed ball goes up, indicating that it is lighter than the air-filled one. Now take two empty test tubes and place a balloon over the mouth of each bottle. Put one test tube in a pan of hot water and the other one in a pan with ice. Observe carefully. The balloon on the test tube in hot water begins to inflate. This is because the hot water heats the air inside test tube and the ice cools the air in the other. When air gets warm, it expands and rises, which inflates the balloon. On the other hand, cool air contracts, causing the other balloon to shrink. This shows that air exerts pressure. Take a cylinder fitted with piston. Press the piston inward. You can compress inside the cylinder, so air can be compressed. When you take out a water bottle from the freeze, some water droplets appear on the outer surface of the bottle. Where do the water droplets come from? Is water leaking through the bottle? No, it's not the case. Water vapor present in the air turns back into liquid when it touches the cold outer surface of the bottle. This proves air contains water vapor. Now take lime water in a test tube. With a syringe, blow some air through this solution. You can see that lime water turns milky. This indicates the presence of carbon dioxide in air. Put your torchlight on while walking through a dark place. You will see tiny shining particles moving in the beam of torchlight. These are the dust particles present in air. All these activities bring us to conclusion that air is a mixture of gases and dust particles. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Air is found everywhere. Air is invisible, colorless, odorless, and tasteless. We can feel air. Air occupies space but have no definite shape. Air has weight, can be compressed, and exerts pressure. Air is a mixture of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and few other gases. Smoke and dust particles are also present in air. Oxygen supports burning and is essential for all living organisms. Introduction. Your school is over. It is raining heavily. You open your umbrella and start walking towards your home. Suddenly, a powerful gust of wind blows your umbrella away. You are completely drenched. You return home wondering about the power of wind. In this lesson, we will discuss air in detail. Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to list the properties of air, understand the composition of air, understand the importance of its components, list the factors causing air pollution, understand the power of wind. We all know that there is air around us. Look around. Can you see the air? No. That is because air is transparent and colorless. Take a paper bag. Blow air into it and seal its mouth. Does the bag appear bloated? Now make a hole in the bag. What happens? The bag shrinks in size and finally becomes flat. This is because the air that was inside the bag has escaped through the hole. This activity shows that air occupies space. Now take a balloon and weigh it. Blow air into it and seal its mouth. Now weigh the balloon again. Is there a difference in the two weights? This activity proves that air has weight. Take 3 balloons of different shapes and sizes. Blow air into all 3. Do the air-filled balloons appear different from one another? That is because originally they had different shapes and sizes. Air has no definite shape or size. It occupies the shape of its container. Go to a park nearby. Start running in a straight line. Put a handkerchief against your body and continue to run. Does the handkerchief fall? No, it doesn't. The air around exerts pressure on the handkerchief and makes it stick to your body. This activity proves that air exerts pressure. Air surrounding the earth is called atmosphere. The pressure exerted by the atmosphere is known as the atmospheric pressure. Air becomes less dense at higher altitudes. Therefore, the atmospheric pressure decreases as altitude increases. Air is a mixture of gases. 3 main gases present in air are nitrogen, N, oxygen, O, and carbon dioxide, CO2. Nitrogen forms 78%, oxygen 21%, and carbon dioxide 0.04% of the air. Besides these three gases, air also contains water vapor, dust particles, and some other gases known as noble gases. Since the noble gases are present in negligible quantities, they are known as rare gases. Every component of air is important and has a role to play. Oxygen is essential for respiration and therefore for the survival of all life forms. It supports combustion and is required in the process of burning. Nitrogen is present in proteins, which are vital for living beings. It helps plants manufacture their proteins. It does not support combustion. Carbon dioxide facilitates photosynthesis. It prevents grains from being destroyed by insects. As it dissolves in water, it is used to prepare soft drinks. Fire extinguishers contain carbon dioxide. Water vapor plays an important role in the water cycle. It helps maintain the temperature on Earth by trapping infrared radiation of the sun. Take some soil in a glass and add water to it slowly. Do you see bubbles forming in the soil? What is the reason for the formation of bubbles? Soil contains air between its particles. When water is added to soil, air is replaced by water. As a result, bubbles are formed. Air present in soil promotes plant growth as well. Air is also present in water. It helps fish and other aquatic life forms survive in water. Sam is on his way to the National Science Center. He rolls down the window of his car to enjoy the fine weather outside. A bus emitting black fumes passes by. He starts coughing. Do you know why? The fumes emitted by vehicles pollute air. When inhaled, they irritate the windpipe and the lungs. Air is also polluted by the harmful chemicals emitted by factories. Paints, varnishes, and sprays contain chemicals that pollute air. Landfills where waste is deposited emit harmful gases that also pollute air. Moving air is known as wind. Wind moves clouds and causes rain to be distributed evenly over the earth. Wind power is used to generate electricity, charge batteries, pump water, irrigate fields, etc. The biggest advantage in using wind power is that wind is an inexhaustible resource. The energy generated by it is pollution-free. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Air has weight, exerts pressure, and occupies space. Air has no fixed shape or size. Air is a mixture of various gases. Air contains nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, some other gases, water vapor, and dust particles. Every component of air has an important role to play. Air is polluted by toxins emitted by factories, vehicles, landfills, paints, varnishes, and sprays. Wind power is used to generate electricity, charge batteries, pump water, irrigate fields, etc. Wind energy.
Introduction. Come Rahul, let's play a game. Which game we are going to play? We are going to play a game in which we will look at each other without blinking our eyes. Who will blink eye at first will be loser. Ruchika, I am sure that I will win. Wow, you are so confident. Okay, Rahul, do you know that there is movement in our body even when we are sitting or lying on the bed? I don't know, Ruchika. Hey, look at the earthworm in the soil. How does it creep? Okay, Rahul, so before playing this game, let me tell you some interesting things about body movement. Children, in this lesson, we will learn about body movement and difference between movement and locomotion. Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to define movement and locomotion, learn about the human body and its movement, identify various types of joints, identify various muscles and their function, identify movements in various animals, identify the streamlined body. Body movement. Hey, look at the earthworm in the soil. How does it creep? Yes, as we walk or run, these earthworms creep or crawl. Birds fly, fish swims, snakes slithers. Other than these movements, we can also see that we move various parts of our body, like when we pick up a book, we move our hand. The movement is the change in position, while locomotion is the change of body from one place to another. The human body and its movement. As we already know that the shape of our body is due to the presence of bones, cartilage and muscles. And there are 206 bones in human body. The framework of all the bones in the human body is known as skeleton. It consists of the skull, hand bone, shoulder bone, rib cage, pelvic bone, backbone, leg bone and cartilage. Most of the bones protect our organs, like the skull protects the brain, while the rib cage protects the lungs, heart, stomach, abdomen and liver. The backbone runs from the top of the skeleton to the bottom of the skeleton. It is connected to all the bones. And the pelvic bone protects the lower abdominal organs such as the urinary bladder, rectum and uterus. Types of joints. We have just studied about the bones. Now it's time to know the joints. The point at which two separate bones meet is called a joint. There are 4 types of joints in the human body. They are ball and socket joint, hinge joint, pivotal joint, and fixed joint. Before going to learn about each joint in detail, let's have an activity. Ball and socket joint. In ball and socket joint, one end of a bone is rounded and ball-like and fits into a cup-like depression of the other bone. It provides movement in any direction. Shoulder joints and hip joints are examples of ball and socket joint. In the shoulder joint, the head of the humerus fits into a socket of the shoulder girdle and thus helps an arm swing. In the hip joint, the large ball-like head of the femur fits into the deep socket of the hip girdle. Pivotal joint. In this type of joint, one bone rotates over a pivot-like end of the other bone. It's like the skull rotates on the upper end of the backbone. Hinge joints. This joint moves like a hinge, in one plane only, just like the hinge of a door. The elbow joint between the humerus and the ulna. The joints between the bones of the fingers and toes, and less perfectly, the knee joint are the hinge joints. Hinge joints usually give sufficient power because there is less danger of twisting at the joint. Fixed joints. In this joint, no movement is possible between the two bones. The sutures between the bones and the skull are an example of fixed joint. Self-assessment. Match the following joint to their types of joints. Cartilage. Cartilage is a soft bone tissue that connects joints. It is present in external parts like the ear and nose, muscles and their functions. A band or bundle of fibrous tissue in a human or animal body that has the ability to contract, producing movement in or maintaining the position of parts of the body are known as muscles. The movement of body is controlled by alternate contractions and relaxations of two sets of muscles. Movement in earthworm. Earthworms move easily on hard and slippery surfaces. Earthworms have tiny, stiff hair-like projections called bristles under their body. They grab the soil with the help of these bristles. Earthworms first stretch and then contract their muscles to move. As a result, they cover only a small distance with every move. A slimy substance secreted by the earthworm helps it to move. Movement in snail. The outer skeleton of the snail, the shell, is made of calcium carbonate. The snail pulls this shell along as it moves. The snail can even hide its head inside the shell. The strong muscular foot below the shell can protrude. The undersurface of the muscular foot is lubricated with mucus. Waves of muscular contractions along this surface help a snail move. The mucus also reduces the risk of injury from sharp objects. That is why snail can walk over sharp objects like blades without getting hurt. Movement in cockroach. The cockroach has 3 pairs of legs that help it to walk and 2 pairs of wings that help it to fly. A cockroach moves its legs with the help of muscles near the limbs. It uses its breast muscles help to move its wings and fly. A cockroach can walk, fly and even climb. A cockroach can move in different terrains like sand and wired meshes because of the spines on its legs. Movement in bird. A bird has a body best suited for flying. Its wings are actually modified forelimbs. Birds can fly easily with the help of these bony forelimbs. Birds have light and hollow bones. The breast bones hold the muscles of flight that help them to flutter their wings. The tail controls the direction of flight. Birds have very strong shoulder bones. They don't have the urinary bladder, which helps them to fly easily. They can walk and perch on trees with the help of their hind limbs. Streamlined body. The shape of many objects moving through air or water is designed in such a way that friction can be reduced between the objects and water or air. The shape of the body is called streamlined body. Movement in fish. Fish have a streamlined body which helps them move fast in water. Fish swim with the help of their fins. The tail moves from side to side and helps the fish swim in the right direction. Some fish, however, move by bending their bodies from one side to another in quick succession, which produces a thrust that helps it move forward. Movement in snake. Snakes move in S-shaped loops and in a zigzag manner. They cannot move in a straight line. They have difficulty in moving on very smooth surfaces. Snakes have a long backbone and many interconnected muscles that help them to slither. Snakes can move in grass, sand and water. Snakes do not have arms or legs, but even then they can climb trees. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learnt. There is always movement in body even when a person is sitting or lying down. Human body is made up of bones and cartilages, which provide shape to the body and protects inner organs. There are various kinds of bone joints depending on the nature of joints and direction of movement they allow. The movement of body is controlled by alternate contractions and relaxations of two sets of muscles. Earthworms move by alternate extensions and contractions of the body using muscles. Snails move with the help of a muscular foot. Snakes slither on the ground by looping sideways. The body and legs of cockroaches have hard coverings forming an outer skeleton. Fish swim by forming loops alternatively on two sides of the body. The bird.
Introduction. Mom, the roti I rolled is not round. What should I do? That is all right. You can change the roll dough back and try again. Mom, can I do that? Yes, Seema. This is one of the changes that can be reversed. Children, in this lesson we will learn about changes around us and the reversible and irreversible changes. Overview of changes. Have you noticed how seeds grow into trees? Another point to notice is how snow melts and the water flows to the river. How does this happen? These are changes that are taking place around us all the time. Reversible changes. Changes are of two types, reversible and irreversible. Changes that can be reverted to their original state are reversible changes. Let's try this. Take some sand and mix it in water. Would you be able to remove sand from water after they are mixed together? Try this one. Melt a chocolate bar to liquid. Do you think you can solidify the same liquid to be a chocolate bar again? These are examples of reversible change. Irreversible changes. Let us now look at some more changes and find out whether we can reverse them. Let's try breaking an egg and beating it for an omelette. Let's try to fry this beaten egg on a fry pan. Can we now get the original egg back? Do you like apples? Let's cut an apple into 4 pieces. After cutting the apple, can we get the whole apple back again? These are changes that cannot be reversed and are called irreversible changes. Expansion. Do you know how to read a thermometer? The thermometer shows the temperature when the mercury inside it expands. Since there is a change in the state of the mercury, the thermometer is able to display temperature. This change is known as expansion. Let us look at another example of expansion. The glasses that we use to drink water are molded when the glass is heated. The workers then use the molten glass to mold it into various shapes that we use daily. Evaporation. What happens when you keep some petrol in a bowl in the sun? After some time, you see that the petrol starts reducing. This is an example of change known as evaporation. Mixing substances. Changes can occur when 2 or more substances are mixed together. For example, when you mix water and sugar, the sugar gets dissolved in water. However, there has been a change in the property of the water. This change becomes irreversible. Let's take a look at another example. When you mix tea leaves with warm water and heat them, you will see that a change has occurred due to mixing of substances. In this case, the change is irreversible. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Changes occur around us. Changes that can be reverted to their original state are reversible changes. Changes in which we do not get the original material are known as irreversible changes. On heating, water changes to water vapor. This is known as evaporation.
Introduction. Hello students, look at the images given here. Camel, yak, squirrel, snakes are all terrestrial animals, but their physical appearance and behavior are very different from each other. Similarly, plants like cactus, water hyacinth, and hydrilla are also different in their physical appearance and behavior. All plants and animals develop different features that help them to survive in their surroundings. Let us learn more about the living organisms and their surroundings. Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to identify the characteristics of living organisms, describe the characteristic features of plants and animals. We know that living organisms, human beings, animals, and plants require food to survive in their surroundings. They show great divergence in their physical appearance, but they all grow and develop during their life cycle. All living organisms carry out various basic functions like growth, development, nutrition, respiration, reproduction, and excretion in order to remain alive. They require food or some other form of nutrition to survive and interact effectively with their surroundings. Now we will study important characteristics of living organisms that differentiate it from non-living things. All living organisms, plants or animals, are comprised of cells. They may be unicellular or multicellular, depending on the number of the cells in their body. Small-size organisms like amoeba, paramecium are made up of one cell. They are called unicellular organisms. Human beings, pigeons, mango tree are made up of many cells, so they are called multicellular organisms. Another important characteristic of living things is nutrition. All plants and animals require food to grow and survive. Plants prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight, whereas animals depend on plants for their food. Another important characteristic of living organisms is movement. All living things move by their own accord. People walk, frogs leap, snake crawls are actions of movement. Similarly, plants also make some movement, but they do not change their place. For example, goat climbers move towards the support. When you place a plant near the window, you observe that plant bends towards the light entering through the window. This characteristic is called responsiveness to stimuli. Similarly, when we touch the hot utensil, a spontaneous reaction is to pull our hand back. Thus, living things respond to the stimulus received from the surroundings. Respiration is an important characteristic of living organisms. They require oxygen for the process of respiration. Animals inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. The oxygen entering in the body oxidizes the food to produce energy. This energy is further utilized by the body to carry out various life activities. Plants respire through tiny pores present on the surface of leaf and stem. A very important characteristic of living things is reproduction. All living things have the ability to reproduce another living thing of its own kind. Animals like pigeons, snake, and frog lay eggs, while some animals like lion, dog, and human give birth to the young ones of their own kind. Plants reproduce through seeds or some other parts of the plants. Animals require food for growth and development. However, during the process of digestion, many waste materials are produced in the body which does not provide any nourishment to the body. Therefore, they are excreted out from the body. The process of passing out the waste substances from the body is excretion. Plants excrete waste substances in the form of vapors, gums, and resins. All living things have limited lifespan. The lifespan is different for different plants and different animals, but they eventually die one day. Death occurs in all plants and animals. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. All living organisms, plants or animals are comprised of cells. All living things require nutrition to grow. All living things move by their own accord. Animals inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. The oxygen entering in the body oxidizes the food to produce energy. All living things have limited lifespan. Introduction. Hi friends, have you ever thought why do we eat food? Yes, of course, because they are delicious and are the source of energy. In this module, we are going to study about different food items that we eat. Objectives. Dear friends, at the end of this lesson, you'll be able to list nutrients and detect carbohydrate, proteins, and fats in the food items. You will also be able to describe different vitamins with their roles and discuss the importance of minerals in the body. In addition to this, you will also be able to explain the importance of dietary fibers and water in the body, explain the importance of balanced diet, and define deficiency diseases. Friends, we get excited when our mother cooks delicious food for us like dal, roti, sambar, idli, rice, etc. You might have noticed that after having food, we feel energetic and can perform various activities. Do you know the reason behind this? Food is actually a source of energy and body-building material that we need to move on, keep ourselves warm, and to develop or sustain and improve our health. Thus, food acts like a fuel to our body, and we cannot survive for long without it. Now, a question may arise that how do we get energy by eating food, and why food is known as fuel for our body? Friends, food has 5 basic components in it. These are carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals. All these components together are called as nutrients. A body digests food and absorbs these nutrients to provide energy. Some nutrients help us fight against diseases. Do you know this fact that each food item contains all nutrients in different amount and each nutrient plays a different role in the body? Let us know about these nutrients one by one in detail. First, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates form an essential structural component of living cells. They are the main source of energy for animals. Carbohydrates include sugars, starch, fiber, etc. They are mainly found in wheat, rice, potatoes, corn, and maize. You might have noticed that some children who do not drink milk become weak and are underdeveloped because milk contains required proteins for our growth. Meat, fishes, eggs, pulses, cheese and soybean are some other important sources of proteins in our diet. The major role of proteins is building and repairing of damaged tissues. Along with carbohydrates, they are also a source of energy. I know that you all love pizza, burger, cheese, etc., but your parents do not allow you to eat them regularly because such foods contain large amounts of fat. Fats supply us with energy. If we don't use up this energy, our bodies build up a store for future use as in form of body fat. This is the reason why people eating much oily food become obese. Ghee, oil, butter, cheese and milk are some main sources of fats. Friends, when you get ill and go to the doctor, then he advises you to take some fruits with light food because many of our body processes require vitamins present in fruits and vegetables. They are required in very small amount. Here is a list of vitamins, their sources and their roles. You might have seen many advertisements of mineral-rich food items. Now let's know why they are so important. Actually, plants need minerals for growth. Besides this, a body also requires minerals in small quantities for all the chemical processes. Potassium, calcium, iron, etc. are some common examples of these minerals. Let us know more about the sources and the role of these minerals using the next table. Dear friends, do you know that besides nutrients, dietary fiber also play an important role in our body? They are usually known as roughage. You need to know that roughage does not provide any nutrition to our body, but adds bulk. They are found only in plants, pulses, potato, fresh fruits and vegetables as the main sources of roughage. This helps our body to get rid of the undigested food. Now let us know about water, which is also an important constituent of our food. Our body gets most of the water in the form of liquid. In addition, we also add water while cooking the food. Water helps our body to absorb nutrients from the food. It is also helpful in throwing out some wastes from body as urine and sweat. As we know that all kinds of foods do not contain all the components. Our meals should have a balance of the different nutrients that our body needs for growing and maintaining good health. Such a diet is called a balanced diet. In other words, we can say that a balanced diet includes all the nutrients that our body requires in proper quantities. So we should accept the fact that having a balanced diet is the best way to live a healthy life. Friends, after knowing about the balanced diet, we should also know that if we don't take proper diet, then what will be the problems? I hope that you might have heard about deficiency diseases. These are the diseases that occur due to lack of nutrients over a long period and hence called deficiency diseases. Here is a list of some of the deficiency diseases and their symptoms. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals are the major nutrients in our food. In addition, food also contains dietary fibers and water. Carbohydrates and fats mainly provide energy to our body. Proteins and minerals are required for the growth and the maintenance of our body. Vitamins help us in protecting our body against diseases. Introduction. Hi friends, have you ever thought why do we eat food? Yes, of course, because they are delicious and are the source of energy. In this module, we are going to study about different food items that we eat. Balanced diet provides all the nutrients that our body needs in right quantities along with adequate amount of roughage and water. Deficiency in one or more nutrients in our food for a long time may cause certain diseases or disorders. These are called deficiency diseases. Introduction. When you are feeling very hot and need some air to cool yourself, the first thing you will do is to switch the fan on. Or you want to have a cup of hot coffee to beat the cold winter. You press the switch to put the hot plate on. Why do you need to press the electric switch to revolve the fan or heating the plate? Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe the flow of electrons in a circuit, construct an actual electric circuit, draw diagrams of electric circuits, explain the path of an electric circuit. An electric cell or a dry cell is the source of electricity for the bulb to glow. Let us know how the bulb in a torch glows. Step 1. Take out the bulb from a torch. You can see that the bulb is a small globe of thin glass, inside which a coiled filament is fixed on two thick wires. One of these thick wires is connected to the metal case around the base of the bulb. The other wire is connected to the metal tip at the base of the bulb. The metal case and metal tip at the base are two terminals of the bulb. Finally, connect free end of one wire to the positive terminal of the cell and free end of the other wire to the negative terminal of the cell. This may be done with the help of a rubber band or an adhesive tape. After the connection, you can see that the bulb lights up. Closed and open circuit. If you see both the wires are connected to both the terminal, it is an unbroken path. It is a closed circuit. Disconnect one of the wires. You will find that the path is broken now. Also, the bulb doesn't light up since electricity can't flow through this circuit. A broken path is known as an open circuit. Electric switch. We put a switch on or off whenever want to use or not the electric appliance such as the fluorescent tube, fan, AC, etc. A switch for a bulb is pressed down to complete a circuit. The bulb glows. To put the bulb off, we press the switch up. This breaks the circuit and the bulb glows no more. The switch is so made that under normal conditions, the circuit remains open. The current does not flow through the circuit. When we press the other end of the strip on the switch, it gets connected to close the circuit. The current flows through the circuit and the bulb starts glowing. A switch is a device to close or open a circuit. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. An electric bulb glows when electric current passes through it. A closed circuit allows the electric current to flow through it. An open circuit is a broken circuit and the electric current does not flow through it. A switch is a device to close or open a circuit. Introduction. Hello friends. What do we need to run our television set, refrigerator, DVD players, video games, computer and fax machines? Yes, it is electricity. Electricity has always been around because it naturally exists. Lightning, for instance, is simply a flow of electrons between the ground and the clouds. Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to define electricity, establish the relation between electric current and charges, identify the two types of electricity, define conductors and insulators. How do you study in the late evening? Of course, you light up your room using an electric bulb. Have you ever wondered what causes the bulb or the tube to light up? They need electricity to light up. Electricity passes through the wires and reaches the filament of the bulb, heating it up to glow. When we comb our hair with a plastic comb and take it near the small pieces of paper, the paper pieces are attracted toward the comb. We then say that the comb is charged with electricity. This was first noticed by a Greek man named Thales over 2,500 years ago. Thales found that amber attracted tiny feathers after it was rubbed with silk cloth. This was due to static electricity. The origin of the word electricity comes from the term electron. Let us perform an activity to understand positive and negative charges. Take an ebonite rod and rub it with a piece of woolen cloth. Now suspend the rod by tying a thread through its middle. Now charge another ebonite rod in the same way and bring it close to the suspended rod. What do you notice? The suspended rod moves away from the second one. Now take a glass rod and rub it with a silk cloth. Bring this glass rod close to the charged suspended ebonite rod. What do you observe now? The suspended ebonite rod comes closer to the glass rod. The charges produced in the ebonite and the glass is different in nature. These two kinds of charges are called positive and negative charges. The positive charge is shown by the plus sign and the negative by the minus sign. Merely as a convention, charge on a glass rod rubbed with silk is taken as positive and that of ebonite rod rubbed with woolen cloth is taken as negative. From the earlier activity we can conclude that like charges repel each other and unlike charges attract each other. We have just studied about electric charges and the forces they exert on one another. We have learnt there are two types of charges, positive and negative. When charges transfer from one body to the other, the bodies are said to be charged. The moving or flowing charges produce an electric current. An electric current consists of a movement of negative charges, that is, electrons. The flow of electrons gives us electricity. Electric current is measured by ammeter. Dry cell battery used in a torch or transistor radio is a source of electric current. Every battery has two terminals marked plus and minus. When a metallic wire connects these two terminals, The electrons resulted from chemical reaction start flowing through the wire, constituting an electric current. These electrons flow from the negative to positive terminal. Thus, a cell is a simple device in which chemical energy is changed into electric energy. Some materials allow electric current to pass through them, others do not. The materials that allow electric current to pass through them are called conductors. Iron, copper, brass, aluminium, silver, gold, graphite, etc. are the conductors of electricity. The materials through which electric current doesn't flow are called insulators. Insulators are also known as non-conductors of electricity. Paper, wood, plastic, cloth, eraser, rubber are the insulators. Pencil lead is made of graphite. It is a form of carbon. It is non-metal, but it is a conductor of electricity. It can be tested whether a given material is a conductor of electricity or not. The given material between the free ends of wires in an electric circuit. Face the given material between the free ends of wires in an electric circuit. Bring the free ends of the two wires close. Now let them touch each other. If the bulb glows, the material is electrically conducting, otherwise it is an insulator. Both conductors and insulators are important while using electricity. The conductors like copper or other metallic wires are used for electric supply, but at the same time, these metallic wires are coated by insulating materials like plastic or rubber for safety. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Electricity is a form of energy. Charges always occur together. Like charges repel and unlike charges attract each other. The flow of electrons is called electric current. Lightning is an electric discharge in the sky. Cells are sources of electric current. Cell is a device in which chemical energy is changed into electric energy. The combination of cells is called a battery. Electric current is measured by an instrument called as ammeter. Metals and inorganic salts are good conductors. Non-metals and organic compounds are insulators. Introduction. See the beautiful clothes in this wardrobe. Oh, so many varieties of clothes made of different kinds of fabric. These fabrics have different look and feel. But friends, these clothes are not easy to make. It involves a long process to make fabric from fiber. Let us discuss about it. Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to define fiber and different types of fiber, discuss the process of separating the fiber from plants, understand the different steps of formation of yarn from fiber, explain knitting and weaving of fabric, history of fabric. Have you ever wondered what materials people used in ancient times for clothing? They used the barks, leaves of trees, animal skins and fur to cover themselves. Slowly, with growing civilization, they learned to weave twigs and grass into mats and baskets. Stitched fabrics came much later with the invention of needles. Fiber. Have you ever had a closer look to a fabric? If yes, you must have seen many yarns in it. These thin yarns are made up of still thinner strands called fabrics. To understand this, take a piece of fabric. take out a yarn from it. Now press one end of yarn with your thumb. Scrub the other end of the yarn along its length with the needle. You can see that the yarn splits into thin strands. These thin strands are fibers. Fibers can be both natural or artificial. You feel so comfortable when you wear cotton cloths in summer. Cotton is a natural fiber. Natural fibers like cotton, jute, flax, fibers, coir, hemp, etc. are obtained from plants. Silk fiber is drawn from cocoon silkworm. Wool is obtained from the hair of animals like sheep, goat, rabbit, yak, and camel. Artificial fibers. You might have heard that we should not wear the synthetic clothes while working near fire. What are the synthetic clothes made of? Well, these clothes have yarns of man-made artificial fibers. These fibers catch fire very easily. Some examples of synthetic fibers are rayon, polyester, nylon, terylene. Some plant fibers. Have you ever made wicks of earthen lamps during Diwali festival or other occasion? Do you know that they are made up of cotton? This cotton is obtained from cotton plants which are grown at places having black soil and warm climate. The fruits of cotton plant, after maturing, burst open and seed-covered cotton are obtained. Jute fiber is obtained from the stem of jute plant. It is cultivated during the rainy seasons. The stems of harvested plants are immersed in water for a few days. Then the stem rot and fibers are separated by hand. Wax fibers are also obtained from the stems of the plant and are used mainly to make linen. Making of fabric from fiber. How is fabric made from fiber? First, yarn is made from fiber and then fabric from yarn. Making of yarn, ginning and spinning of cotton. Students, to make fiber, cotton is picked by hand from cotton balls and then fiber from the seeds is separated by combing. This is called ginning. Ginning can be done by machines too. Do you know how a yarn of cotton is made? Take some cotton wool, fix one end with a clip, then fix the other end with another clip. Hold the two clips in two hands and pull out the cotton. Twist the cotton continuously till it finally turns into a yarn. This simple device used for spinning is a hand spindle called takli. Do you know about charkha? It was very popular during independence movement. Making of fabric from yarn. Children, now let us know how fabric is made from yarn. Fabric is made by weaving and knitting the yarns. Let us know how they are made. See these mats or these bags. These are made by weaving the yarns. Weaving of fabric is done on looms. Looms are of two types: hand-operated looms and power-operated looms. Let us learn weaving. You also can make the mat with few thin ropes. Take few ropes of yellow and blue color. Weave the yellow and blue strips one by one as shown. Similarly, two sets of yarn are woven to make a fabric. Knitting. Children, you may have the beautiful sweaters. Do you know how they are made? The sweaters are made by knitting. A single yarn is used to make a piece of fabric. Socks and many other clothing items are the knitted fabrics. Knitting is done by hands and also on machines. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learnt. Fabric is made up of yarns arranged together. Thin strands of yarn are made up of still thinner strands called fibers. Fibers are of two types: natural fibers and artificial fibers. Cotton and jute fibers are obtained from cotton and jute plants respectively. Two steps of making fabric from fiber are: 1. Making of yarn from fiber. 2. Making of introduction.
Oh, I'm feeling hungry.
Take it. Your hunger will be satisfied. Mona, can you guess where from we get all these things which we eat daily?
I only know that it comes from plants. But how? That I don't know, Mridul. Can you tell me?
Yeah, of course. Children, in this lesson we will learn about variety of food and where food comes from. Variety of food. Hey, look at the food. What did you notice? In this plate, there are many types of food items and each item is made up of more than one ingredient. Like chapatis are made up from dough of wheat, flour and water. Similarly, dal is made up of pulses, water, salt and other spices. Food materials and their sources. As we have already discussed that we require food to get energy and to fill our stomach when we feel hungry. We can also define food as any nourishing substance that is eaten, drunk, or otherwise taken into the body to sustain life, provide energy, promote growth, etc. Where food comes from. Let us now discuss that where from we get the various food items to eat. Most of the food we get from plants like vegetables, fruits, wheat flour, rice, dal, cornflakes, bread, vegetable oil, etc. Some of food we also get from animals like milk, curd, butter, ghee, eggs, etc. We also get fish, prawn, chicken, beef, pork, etc. from animals. Plant parts and animal product as food. Now as we know that we get most of the food from plants, various parts of plants give us different types of food. We eat leaves of spinach, mustard, fenugreek, salad, etc. as vegetables. Fruits of many plants are eaten as fruits and vegetables. Seeds are used as cereals, spices, sprouts, and for taking out vegetable oil. Stem and roots of many plants are used as vegetables. As we have already discussed that we get most of the food from plants, animals also provide us some of important products which we eat, drink daily, that is milk, curd, eggs. We get milk from cow, buffalo and goat and even from camel in desert areas. We get eggs from hens and duck. We also get meat from chicken, goat, camel, etc. Fish, prawn are also eaten. Honeybee gives us honey. What do animals eat? Do you know that there are 3 types of animals on the basis of nature of food they eat? They are herbivore, carnivore, and omnivore. Herbivorous are those animals which eat only plants. Example, cow, buffalo, goat, elephant, etc. Carnivorous are those animals which eat only animals. Example, lion, tiger, jaguar, jackal, etc. While omnivores are those animals which eat both plants and animals. Example, dog, crow. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Food is any nourishing substance that is eaten, drunk, or otherwise taken into the body to sustain life, provide energy, promote growth, etc. Plant is the main source of food. We also get food from animals. Herbivorous are those animals which eat only plants. Carnivorous are those animals which eat only animals. While omnivorous are those animals which eat both plants and animals. Introduction.
Mom, have you seen my needle? I dropped it right now and I don't seem to find it. I need to finish my craft work. Yes, dear. I'll help you find it. Let's get a magnet and look for the needle. What is a magnet, Mom? How will that help me find my needle?
Children, in this lesson, we will learn about magnets and their properties. History of magnets. There is a popular legend that leads us to the discovery of magnets, which involves an elderly Greek shepherd named Magnus. It says that Magnus was herding his sheep in an area of northern Greece called Magnesia about 4,000 years ago. Suddenly, the metal tip of his stick became firmly stuck to a large black rock on which he was sitting. To find the source of attraction, he dug up the earth to find magnetite, a natural magnetic material. This type of rock was subsequently named magnetite, which was named after Magnus himself. Origin of magnets. Magnetite is a natural magnet and contains iron. In the later days, this was more widely known as a magnet. A magnet is a substance that has the power of attracting iron. Magnets can also be made artificially. However, the process of making artificial magnets is a recent discovery. Artificial magnets come in different shapes, for example, bar magnet, horseshoe magnet, etc. Types of materials. Now let us look at the types of materials. Materials that are attracted by magnets are called magnetic materials. For example, screws, nuts, bolts are magnetic materials. Materials that are not attracted by magnets are called non-magnetic materials. For example, wool, cloth, bricks are non-magnetic materials. Poles of a magnet. When you move a magnet over magnetic substances, you will see that these substances get attracted to particular parts of the magnet only. These are generally the two ends of the magnet. These ends are called poles of the magnet. Finding the right directions. Once you know about the poles of a magnet, you should also be able to mark the location of the poles. Let us now look at why poles are important to be marked in a magnet. We all know that to find directions we use a compass. This compass has a needle that keeps moving in all directions, but when steadied always points to the south. This helps us in finding directions accurately. This is why we need to mark the poles of a magnet. Making your own magnet. Let us look at the steps to create your very own magnet. Let's take a paper clip. Use a thick and strong magnet. Move the clip over the magnet repeatedly in the same direction. Perform this step 50 to 100 times. The movement needs to be quick. Now to check whether the magnet is ready, bring a nail close to the clip. If the clip does not attract the nail, then continue the same process for some more time. Keep in mind that the pole of the magnet and the direction of its movement should not change. Attraction and repulsion. Now that you know about poles of a magnet, let us look at the attraction and repulsion properties too. In the case of magnets, when the south pole comes in contact with the north pole, these get attracted to each other. This is better known as opposite poles attracting each other. Similarly, when the south pole comes in contact with another south pole of a magnet, they do not attract each other. In fact, they repel each other. This is better known as similar poles repelling each other. Taking care of magnets. We are now aware of the attraction and repulsion properties of a magnet. To keep magnets safe and in working conditions, follow these guidelines. Do not heat, hammer, or drop magnets from a height. They will lose their property if done so. Keep bar magnets in pairs with their opposite poles on the same side. Use wood to separate them. Keep a piece of iron across the poles of a horseshoe magnet. Magnets should be away from computers, mobiles, television sets, music systems, and compact discs. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. A magnet attracts magnetic materials. The ends of a magnet is known as poles of magnets. A free magnet always points in north-south direction. Similar poles of the magnet repel each other, while different poles of the magnet attract each other. Introduction. The fishes and other aquatic animals in the pond were dying. It was because people dumped their garbage in the pond. In this lesson, we will learn about the garbage, its sources, and its harmful effects on us and other animals. We will also learn about the disposal methods of garbage. Our daily activities give rise to a large variety of wastes arising from different sources. Garbage or waste is such items which are unwanted materials. Many items can be considered as garbage, for example, household rubbish, sewage sludge, wastes from manufacturing activities, packaging items, discarded cars, old televisions, garden waste, old paint containers, etc. Wastes are divided into two categories as biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable waste. Vegetable and fruit skin are biodegradable waste, whereas plastic, metals and glass are non-biodegradable waste. When we peel off fruit and vegetable skin, it is necessary to dispose of it in dustbin. Careless lying garbage attracts disease-causing insects. Let us look at various methods of waste disposal like composting, vermin composting, and recycling of paper. The garbage van collects garbage from the locality and takes it to open areas. These open areas contain deep trenches known as filling areas. Here the useful and useless parts of waste are segregated. The useless waste is filled in these areas and covered with sand. The useful part of waste, like wastes of kitchen peels of fruits and vegetables, is put down in the trenches near the filling areas and covered with sand. After some time, the useful parts of waste convert it into compost. The color of waste becomes black due to complete decomposition, and there is no bad smell. This compost is used as manure for proper growth of plants. Students, you might have seen earthworms in rainy season. They convert the kitchen waste into the compost. This is known as vermicomposting. The red worms used in vermicomposting do not have teeth. A special structure called gizzard is present in them which crush down the food. These worms cannot live in hot or cold environment, therefore moisture is required in the formation of vermicompost. The compost obtained from vermicomposting is used in agriculture. Now we will learn about the recycling of paper. Paper recycling is the process of recovering waste paper and remaking it into new paper products. For recycling of paper, old newspaper, old envelopes, magazines, old notebook, useless paper, a bowl and a wooden frame of wire sieve is required. The steps involved are: soak newspaper and waste paper in water for a day or two. Squeeze out the excess water. Crush the soaked paper to get a paste. After that, fill the bowl with water. Paper waste in the bowl. Stir it. Immerse the frame of wire sieve in the watery suspension in the bowl. Slowly remove the frame from the suspension and steadily place it in horizontal position. Now separate the layer of paste from the frame. Wait for the water to drain. Thus we have the recycled paper. Now we will look at disposal of non-biodegradable waste. Toys, shoes, bags, pen, comb, toothbrush and bottles are made up of plastics and glass. Plastic is a non-biodegradable material. It does not break down into simpler substances. Also, the recycling of all types of plastics is not possible. Only a few types of plastics can be recycled. The burning of all types of plastics produces harmful gases. Sometimes animals eat the plastic bags, which causes death of those animals. The plastic bags which we throw on roads go down in sewers and choke them. This allows the water to run out of the sewers and causes many difficulties to the people. We should follow following methods during disposal of plastics. Stop use of plastic bags. If you use, reuse the plastic bags where it is possible. Make use of paper bags. Use jute or cloth bags. Plastic bags need not be used for the storage of food materials. After use, plastic bags should not be thrown here and there. Burning of plastic bag is very harmful. We should also not use the plastic bags for the disposal of kitchen waste. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Garbage or waste are such items which are unwanted. Wastes are divided into two types: biodegradable and non-biodegradable. There are many methods of waste disposal like composting, vermicomposting, recycling of paper, etc. Fruits and vegetable skin are biodegradable waste. Plastic is a non-biodegradable material. The burning of all types of plastics produces harmful gases. Introduction. Different life forms are present around us. Plants, insects, animals, and of course, the human beings. Every living thing is made up of different body parts, and each part has a specific task assigned to it. In this lesson, we will look at the parts of a plant body and understand their functions. We see different kinds of plants growing around us. They vary in their appearance. Some are short, while some others are tall. Some are tender, whereas some others are hard. In fact, plants can be classified into three categories as herbs, shrubs, or trees based on their characteristics. Let us begin our discussion with plant roots. Root is the underground non-green part of a plant body. Roots absorb water and minerals from the soil, which are crucial for the survival of a plant. They also attach a plant to the soil for its entire life. Let us perform an activity to demonstrate the importance of roots in the life of a plant. Take two plants, A and B. Cut off the roots of plant B. Plant both the plants A and B in the soil and water them every day. After a few days, plant A appears as healthy as it was on the first day, whereas plant B appears wilted. This proves that roots absorb water and minerals from the soil and transport them to the other parts of the plant. Now try pulling the two plants out from the soil. Plant A is firmly attached to the soil because of its roots, so it is difficult to pull it out. However, plant B, that has no roots, comes out easily. This shows the roots anchor plants firmly in the soil. Roots are of two types: tap roots and fibrous roots. Taproot is a single, large root that grows straight down deep into the soil. A few small roots that branch from it are called lateral roots. For example, roots found in radish and carrot plants. Fibrous roots, on the other hand, are a cluster of fine roots that spread into the soil. For example, roots found in maize and wheat crops. A fibrous root has no main root. The other important part of the plant body is the stem. The stem forms the main axis of the plant body, which grows towards light and away from gravity. It holds the plant body upright. It bears leaves, flowers, and fruits and exposes them to sunlight and air. The stem is divided into nodes and internodes. Nodes are the swollen portion of the plant that holds buds which grow into leaves, flowers, etc. Internodes, on the other hand, are the stretches between two nodes. Roots, as you learned, absorb water and minerals from the soil. How does the water and minerals absorbed by the roots reach the rest of the plant body? Yes, through the stem. The stem conducts them to the leaves and other parts of the plant. It also supports the plant, enabling it to stand erect. Besides, it exposes its leaves to the sunlight. Let us perform an activity to demonstrate that stem conducts water. Take a balsam plant with roots. Put it in a pot containing colored liquid. After a while you will observe the same color in the stem, leaves, etc. of the plant. This proves that stem conducts water from the roots to the other parts of the plant body. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Plants have four important parts: roots, stem, leaves, and flowers. Roots absorb water and minerals from the soil and anchor the plant firmly in the soil. Stem forms the main axis of the plant body and it bears leaves, buds, flowers, and seeds. The stem conducts water and minerals dissolved in it from the roots to the rest of the plant body. Introduction. The part of a plant that attracts us to it is flowers. Flowers in full bloom make us cheerful. They make our lives colorful. Just as there is a variety of flowers, there is a wide array of leaves. It is a sheer delight to watch leaves and flowers of different shapes and sizes. In this lesson, we will learn about leaves and flowers in great detail. A leaf is a flat, green structure attached to a node on the stem. The stalk by which a leaf is attached to the stem is called the petiole. The thin, flat and white part of the leaf is called lamina. The lamina is green in color. The thick line present in the middle of a leaf is called the midrib. The thin lines branching from the midrib are the veins. The arrangement of veins on a leaf is called venation. When veins appear to branch from the midrib, the venation is called reticulated venation. When the veins run parallel to one another, the venation is termed as parallel venation. This type of venation is generally found in the leaf of grass. An important function of the leaf is to keep the plant cool in summers. This is accomplished through transpiration. Transpiration is the process by which water vapor evaporates from the leaves and stems of a plant into the atmosphere. Small pores called the stomata on the underside of the leaves facilitate transpiration. Like animals and human beings, plants also require food for their survival. However, unlike animals and human beings, they can make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. This process takes place in the leaves of the plant. In this process, the leaves of a plant use the energy from the sunlight to convert the carbon dioxide absorbed from the air and the water absorbed from the soil into glucose. The food prepared by leaves is then transported to the different parts of the plant. You just learnt that leaves make their food with the help of photosynthesis. The tiny structures on leaf inside which photosynthesis takes place are known as chloroplasts. Due to their role in food production, they are also known as food factories. Chloroplasts are green in color. They get their color from a pigment called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll helps leaves prepare food. We see flowers all around us, in balconies, in lawns, in parks, in sidewalks. Flowers of varied hues and colors fill our hearts with happiness. Flowers, irrespective of their sizes and shapes, are refreshing. Big or small, red or blue, all flowers have the same structure. The outer part of the flower is known as calyx. It consists of green leaf-like sepals. The inner part of the flower is called corolla. It comprises the petals. Different flowers have petals of different colors. Petals attract pollinator towards flower. The male part of the flower comprises one or more stamens. Each stamen is a stalked structure. The stalk is called the filament. Atop the filament are two sacs containing pollen. These sacs are known as anthers. The female part of the flower is called the pistil. It is the innermost part of the flower. The pistil has three parts: stigma, style, and ovary. The stigma is the sticky surface at the top of the pistil. It traps and holds the pollen. The style is a tube-like structure that holds up the stigma. The style leads down to the ovary that contains the ovules. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. The stalk by which a leaf is attached to the stem is called the petiole. The thin, flat, and white part of the leaf is called lamina. Photosynthesis is the process by which the leaves of a plant use energy from the sunlight to convert the carbon dioxide from the air and the water absorbed from the soil into glucose. Transpiration is the process by which water vapor evaporates from the leaves and stems of a plant into the atmosphere. The outer part of the flower is known as calyx. The inner part of the flower is called corolla. The male part of the flower is called the stamen. The female part of the flower is called the pistil. Introduction. It is recess time at school. You and your friends are out in the lawns. Suddenly a bright light hits you in the eye. You and your friends move to a different location. This time the bright light hits your friend. The bright light seems to be following you. You are confused. You look around. You see Aman standing at a distance with a mirror in his hand. You know that Aman was responsible for this mischief. However, how he managed it, you are not sure. In this lesson, we will discuss light, shadows, and reflection in detail. It's night and you step inside the house. There is darkness all around. Everything appears black. You can hardly see anything. Your father switches the light on. Now you can see everything clearly. It means light enables viewing. Therefore, light is defined as a form of energy which makes things visible. You are getting late for school. You are not able to find your socks. You search for them in the cupboard. Since the cupboard is dark, you switch the tube lights on. Once you locate the socks, you switch the lights off because there is sufficient daylight. We just talked about two types of light: the light from the tube lights and daylight, which is the light from the sun. While sunlight is natural, light from the tube lights are artificial. Objects which have light of their own are called luminous objects. Thus, in our example, both sun and tube lights are luminous objects. Sun is a natural luminous object, and tube lights are artificial, man-made luminous objects. Luminous objects are sources of light. Objects are classified as transparent, translucent, or opaque depending upon their treatment of light. Objects that allow light to pass through them are called transparent objects. Most of the light falling upon a transparent object passes through it to the other side, thereby allowing us to see through them. Glass, clean air, pure water, etc. are examples of transparent objects. Objects that do not allow any light to pass through them are called opaque objects. As a result, we cannot see through them. When light falls on an opaque object, its shadow is formed on the other side of it. Wood, sheets of metal, dark-colored plastics, rocks, etc. are examples of opaque objects. Objects that are partially transparent and partially opaque are called translucent objects. They allow light to pass through them in a scattered or diffused manner. Frosted glass, tracing paper, greased paper, etc. are examples of translucent objects. You and your brother Ashish have just returned from school. Your mother gives both of you lemonade to drink. Your mischievous brother picks this straw out from the glass and tries to look at you through it. After a while, the thin straw bends. Now when Ashish tries to look at you through it, he is unsuccessful. Does this activity of your brother prove something? Yes, it does. It proves that light travels along a straight line. On a Sunday morning, you are on your way to the market to buy some milk. The sun is shining bright on your face. You see your shadow on the ground behind you. The same day in the evening, you are out in the park playing football. The sun's rays fall on your back. You see your shadow on the ground in front of you. After a while, the sun sets. There are no more shadows. You are confused. You want to understand when shadows are formed. You are also curious to know the direction in which shadows are formed. Shadows are formed when an opaque object is placed across the path of light. Shadows can be seen only on a screen. The ground, walls of a room, building, and other such surfaces act as screens for shadows. Shadows are always formed in the direction opposite to the source of light. In the morning, since you were facing the sun, the shadow was behind you. In the evening, the sun was behind you, causing the shadow to be formed in front of you. When the sun sets, there was no light, hence there were no shadows. You just learned some interesting facts about shadows. Let us list the important characteristics of shadows. Shadow is formed when light falls on an opaque object. Shadow is formed in the direction opposite to the source of light. Outline of the shadow matches the outline of the object. The brighter the light, the darker the shadow. Shadows are dark irrespective of the color of the light or the object. The closer the source of light to an object, the larger the shadow. The farther the source of light from an object, the smaller the shadow. Pinhole camera is a light-proof box with a small hole on one side. Light from an object passes through this hole and projects an inverted image of the object on the opposite side of the box. Let us learn how to make a pinhole camera. Take a cardboard or a tin box. Cut open a side of the box and paste a tracing paper over it. Pierce a very small hole in the center of the side opposite to the one on which the tracing paper has been pasted. Close the box from all the sides. The pinhole camera is ready to use. Make the pinhole face a lighted object. An image of the object is formed on the tracing paper. The size of the image depends on the following factors. The greater the distance between the screen and the hole, the larger the image. The larger the image, the fainter it is. The larger the distance between the object and the hole, the smaller the image. In your school during the recess, Aman shone a bright light on your face. He did it with the help of a mirror. How did he do it? He used the mirror to deflect the sunlight in your direction. This mischief of Aman proves that a mirror changes the direction of light that falls on it. Such a change of direction of light by a shiny surface is called reflection of light. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Light is a form of energy that makes things visible. Light travels in a straight line. Objects that allow light to pass through them are called transparent objects. Objects that do not allow light to pass through them are called opaque objects. Objects that are partially transparent and allow light to pass through them in a diffused manner are called translucent objects. When an opaque object is placed across the path of light, then the object casts a shadow. Change of direction of light by a shiny surface is called reflection of light. Introduction. A chameleon is in grass gardens. Can you see it? Yes, it is under the leaves. A chameleon changes its color according to its surroundings to escape its predators. It is quite essential that they adapt to their surroundings to survive. These adaptations allow animals and plants to survive and grow in particular habitat. In this lesson, we are going to learn as to how different plants and animals adapt according to their habitats. We all know that every organism requires some place where its basic necessities like food, water, and shelter should be met. This place of living where plant and animal live and grow is known as habitat. All living organisms should adapt themselves to their habitat to thrive and survive in the surroundings. Habitat is divided into two classes. 1. Terrestrial or land habitat. 2. Aquatic or water habitat. Habitat of living organisms found on land is terrestrial habitat. Desert, mountains, forest, grasslands are the examples of this category. Whereas habitat of living organisms found in water is aquatic habitat. Sea, ponds, oceans and lakes are the examples of this category. Animals like porcupine, yak, seal and zebra have different type of physical features to survive and live in the surroundings. Porcupine has needle-shaped quills, yak has thick fur, zebra has stripped skin which can be easily mistaken as bushes. These specific features are known as adaptations. An adaptation is a variation or modification in animal or plant body to survive and live in its environment. Students, did you know that Sahara Desert is the largest desert in the world? It is located in Africa. Deserts have a unique characteristic of being dry. They are hot and dry due to high rate of evaporation and limited rainfall. Plants and animals living in deserts have modified features to survive in such extreme conditions. Camel has many adaptations that are specifically suited to desert habitat. Camel has long eyelashes and nostrils that close to protect against blowing sand. A large hump on its back stores fat, which is metabolized during lengthy period. They can drink up to 46 liters of water in one time and can live without water for a week. Wide and flat feet prevents the camel from sinking into the sand. Similarly, plants like cacti also show various adaptations to survive in dry and hot environment. The leaves of cacti are modified into spines, which reduce water loss due to transpiration. Cactus has thick and fleshy stem to store water. Roots of the desert plants deeply penetrate in the soil to absorb water. Students, did you ever think why trees growing in hilly regions are different from the trees growing in grasslands or forest regions? Plants of hilly areas have specific adaptations to face extreme climatic conditions like cold and strong winds. Plants are small and perennials. Leaves are conical and have thick covering of wax which allows rainwater and snow to slide down. Their branches are oblique and roots are well developed. Animals living in mountain regions also show diverse adaptations to survive and live in cold surroundings. For example, yak and mountain goats are adapted to live on high mountains. Animals have thick skin and fur, which keeps the body warm in winter and snowy climates. Aquatic animals have special features and adaptations that help them to survive and live in aquatic habitats. Aquatic animals like fishes have streamlined body that helps to swim easily in water. Fishes have flat tail and flat fins that help them to change direction in water. Fishes respire through gills. Students, you might have seen lotus floating in ponds and lakes. These plants show various adaptations to live in water. Lotus plants have long and hollow stem, which attaches the plant to the base of the pond. Roots are short. Leaves are wide and disc-shaped, thus helps the plant to float on the water surface. Some aquatic plants remain submerged in the water. For example, hydrilla. Students, we all know that frogs are amphibians. They can live both in land and water. So they have specially developed features that allow him to live both on land and water. Frog has long, strong and webbed hind limbs that help in jumping and swimming. Frog undergoes hibernation during winter season. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. An adaptation is a variation or modification in animal or plant body to survive and live in its environment. The places of living where plant and animal live and grow are known as habitat. We have two main types of habitat: terrestrial habitat and aquatic habitat. Camel has long eyelashes and nostrils, hump to store fat, wide and flat feet to walk on sand. Cactus has spiny leaves, thick and fleshy stem to store water, and long roots deeply penetrated in the soil to absorb water. Mountain plants are small and perennials with conical leaves covered with wax. Branches are oblique and roots are well developed. Animals found in mountains have thick skin and fur. Aquatic animals have streamlined body, flat tail, and fins and gills for respiration.
Introduction. Teacher, here are sweets for the new car we just bought. Congratulations, Sanjay. Thank you for the sweets. So, you will now be traveling to school in your new car? Yes, teacher. My father will drop me to school every morning in the new car and then I will take the school bus home. Very good, Sanjay. We all travel every day to come to school. Some of us come by bus, some by the school bus, and some by their own cars. But have you thought about what was used by people earlier to travel from one place to another? Bullock carts and tongas. Good. Let us look at some modes of transport used in the early days. Children, in this lesson, we will learn about the various modes of transport and also about the measurement of distance along with the types of motions. Modes of transport. Have you wondered how people travelled in the earlier days? In the early days, people have always used animals to travel from one place to another. For example, bullock cart, horse cart, etc. Can you imagine using a bullock cart to come to school every day now? Nowadays, we have progressed and we have learnt we can use fuel and natural resources to create better modes of transport. As you can see, hence we now have cars, buses, roads, railways, motorbikes, aeroplanes, ships, etc. to travel. Introduction to measurement. Do you know how people know how much have they travelled or how much is the length of a leg of a chair? This is done by using a term called measurement. Measurement means comparing an unknown quantity with a known quantity. The known fixed quantity is called as a unit. When you derive the results of this calculation, you get the measurement in two parts. One is a number and the other is the unit of the measurement. You can also calculate the distance of one place to another. For example, the distance from school to your house. Units of measurement. In the early days, units of measurements included the length of a foot, the distance of a step, and the width of a hand. However, these were difficult to maintain as the length of a foot would vary from person to person. To standardize the units, a metric system was put in place. This system is a standard unit of measurement, and the system of standard units of measurement used now is known as the International System of Units, or SI units. The SI unit of length is a meter. Each meter is divided into 100 equal divisions. These are called centimeters, or cm. Each centimeter has 10 equal divisions. These divisions are called millimeters, or mm. To measure distances, we use a term called kilometers, or km. Measuring length. For measuring the length of any object, we need to choose an appropriate device so as to get accurate results. For example, the measuring scale that a carpenter uses is different than the one that is used by a tailor. If these are interchanged, you can imagine the amount of confusion it will cause. Measuring length of curved line. To measure a curved line, the standard measuring tape will not be enough. you will have to use a different mechanism to arrive at the correct length of the curved line. To measure, you will use a thread along the line of the curve. You will use the thread from one end of the curved line to the other end by stretching the thread along the line. After you're done, straighten the thread and measure its length. You will know the length of the curved line accurately. Moving objects. You will notice that there are objects that move when you apply force or are moving on their own. For example, you will see honey bees flying from one flower to another. So also, you will notice that the blades of a fan move when electricity is applied. This is known as motion. It is defined as a change in the position of an object with time. Types of motions. As you know, motion is the change in position of an object with time. The change in its position can be determined through distance measurements. Let us look at the types of motions. Rectilinear motion. It is the type of motion in which objects move along a straight line. For example, march. March past of soldiers in a parade. Circular motion. It is the motion of an object that keeps a constant distance from a point. For example, hands of a clock. Periodic motion. It is the type of motion in which the object repeats its motion after some time. For example, motion of a child on a swing. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learnt. The modern modes of transport used. Measurement means comparing an unknown quantity with a known quantity. The known fixed quantity is called as a unit. In the early days, units of measurements included the length of a foot, the width of a hand, and the distance of a step. The system of standard units of measurement used now is known as the International System of Units or SI units. For measuring the length of any object, we need to choose an appropriate device so as to get accurate results. Motion is defined as a change in the position of an object with time. There are three types of motions: rectilinear, periodic, and circular.
Introduction. Tarun is at his friend Kunal's place. Kunal's mother is preparing some lemonade for him. She squeezes some lemon juice in a glass of water, adds sugar and ice cubes, and serves it to him. He can see no traces of sugar and lemon juice in the water. He sees the ice cube floating on the top. He is amused to see that different substances have different characteristics. In this lesson, we will learn about the properties possessed by different materials. Let us perform a small activity to understand the concept of hardness or softness of material. Take a sponge soaked in water. Now take a stone drenched in water. Try to squeeze both to remove water. Which of the two are you able to squeeze? Of course, sponge. Can you squeeze the stone? You cannot. Objects that are difficult to compress are called hard objects. Objects that are easy to compress are called soft objects. Payal's brother comes back home after a football match. He is drenched in sweat. Her mother takes a glass of water, adds a spoonful of glucose and gives it to him for instant energy. Payal notices one thing. Glucose dissolves in water instantaneously. She decides to experiment with some other substances. She observes that some substances dissolve easily in water, like salt, sugar, etc. She also notices that some substances do not dissolve in water, such as coconut oil, mustard oil, stone, marbles, etc. Substances that dissolve easily in water are called soluble substances. Substances that do not dissolve in water are called insoluble substances. Some gases are also soluble in water, such as oxygen. Oxygen dissolved in water helps aquatic animals survive. It has rained heavily and a huge puddle has formed in front of Prachi's house. She is very excited. She first throws a stone. It disappears inside the puddle. Then she throws a leaf. It starts floating. Do you know why? The stone sinks because it's heavy. The leaf remains afloat because it is light. Thus, objects can be classified on the basis of their floatability in water. Ashish's father took him to an ice cream parlor one day. He asked Ashish to choose a flavor. Ashish decided to take a look. The ice creams were placed in a refrigerator with glass tops. Ashish could very easily choose a flavor without any assistance from the person at the counter. Can you say why? Since the refrigerator had glass tops and glass is transparent, Ashish could look at all the flavors that were available in the parlor and make his selection. A transparent substance is a substance that allows all light to pass through it. In other words, it absorbs light, reflecting back very little. As a result, it appears clear and things can be seen through it. Other examples of transparent substances are water, air, plastic, etc. Can you see what is happening in a closed room? No? Do you know why? It is because the walls and doors of the room are opaque. An opaque substance is a substance that does not allow light to pass through it. In other words, it is impenetrable by light. It does not absorb light. Instead, it reflects light back. Hence, we cannot see things through an opaque substance. For example, we cannot say what is kept in a closed wooden box or a metal container, as wood and metal are opaque. Rekha is getting ready to embroider a handkerchief. She has located a pattern in a book. She wants the same on her handkerchief. She uses a tracing paper to copy the pattern from the book onto her hanky. Now she is all set to embroider. What made this embroidery possible was the translucent tracing paper. A translucent substance is a substance that has the characteristics of both transparent and opaque substances. While it absorbs some light, it reflects back the rest. The absorbed light is transmitted in a scattered or diffused manner. Other examples of translucent substances are paper, paraffin wax, greased paper, etc. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Some materials are hard, while some others are soft. Some are soluble in water, some others are not. Some materials float in water, some others sink. Some materials are transparent, some are opaque, and some others are translucent. A transparent substance is a substance that allows light to pass through it. An opaque substance is a substance that does not allow light to pass through it. A translucent substance is a substance which is partially transparent and allows light to pass through it in a diffused manner. Introduction. Hello children, let us take up for discussion a topic closely related to our daily life. Your mother prepares poha for you and spices it up with green chilies. And you simply don't like green chilies. What will you do? Obviously, you will carefully pick out every piece of chili before popping some poha into your mouth. A similar exercise is done by your mother when she is preparing to cook food for the family. You must have noticed her separating stones and other unwanted particles from rice, wheat, and pulses before cooking them. Though some impurities and undesirable particles can be removed by hand picking, it may not always be the case. In many mixtures, components are not easily separable. In such cases, some other techniques of separation are used. We will discuss the different methods of separation of substances in this lesson. Most of the things that we use in our daily life are in the form of mixtures. Not every component of a mixture is useful. For example, some food preparations may contain a constituent that is not liked by us. We remove it to make the food item suit our taste. So, one reason for separation is removal of undesirable components. Similarly, we find stones, mites, etc. in rice, wheat, pulses, etc. We remove them before cooking because they are harmful to our body. So, the second reason for separation is removal of harmful components. When we churn milk, curd, we get two different but extremely useful products, butter and buttermilk. Thus, the third reason for separating the components of a mixture is to obtain pure and useful components. You sure would have some idea about the methods of separation. In fact, you would have used some of these methods in your day-to-day life. Let us list some methods commonly used to separate the components of a mixture. Hand picking, churning, threshing, winnowing, sieving. The basis for choosing a method of separation depends upon the physical properties of components. How does your mother separate small pieces of stones and other impurities from wheat, rice, and pulses? Yes, simply by picking them up by hand, one by one. The method of hand picking can be used for separating impurities that are easily visible to the naked eye and are present in small quantity in the form of dirt, husk, and stone. This is butter. Do you know how butter is made? When milk is stirred vigorously in a churn, butter is obtained. What liquid left behind is the tasty, nutritive buttermilk that is relished by many as a refreshing summer drink. Do you see that two useful components emerge from a mixture when this method of separation is employed? You must have seen bundles of wheat or paddy stalks lying in fields after harvest. Have you pondered how a farmer separates the grains from these stalks? Once the wheat or paddy crop is harvested, the farmer ties the stalks together to form bundles. He then leaves the bundles to dry in the sun. Once the stalks are completely dried, the farmer beats them against a hard floor to free the grains. This process of separating grains from stalks is known as threshing. Bullocks, oxen, and machines known as threshers are also used for this purpose. During your numerous train trips down your countryside, you would have noticed women standing at a height, shaking a basket held over their heads continuously. They are separating the grain from the husk by simply allowing the wind to blow away the husk and other lighter impurities. The heavier grain falls down on the ground in a heap. This process of separating impurities from the grain by allowing a current of air to blow away the lighter impurities is known as winnowing. Children, have you seen how your mother removes bran and other impurities from flour? They separate the coarse bran from the fine flour with the help of a sieve. This technique of using a sieve to separate the solid components of different sizes in a mixture is known as sieving. In this method, the mixture is placed on the sieve and shaken. The smaller particles pass through the holes of the sieve to the container placed below and are thus separated from the bigger particles that are retained in the sieve. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. The separation of the components of a mixture is done to remove undesirable and harmful components and to obtain pure and useful components. Some common methods of separation of the components of a mixture are hand picking, threshing, winnowing, and sieving. Hand picking is the method used to separate impurities visible to the naked eye and present in small quantity. Churning refers to the process of agitating or stirring milk or curd to make butter. Threshing is the process of separating grains from stalks. Winnowing is the method of separating the husk from grains by allowing air through the mixture. Sieving is the technique of using a sieve to separate solid particles of varying sizes. Introduction. After heavy rain, the potholes were filled with muddy water. Jack, a 12-year-old inquisitive boy, tried separating the mud from water. Let us see, did he succeed in his project of getting clean water? Jack filled a beaker with muddy water and left it undisturbed for some time. After some time, he was surprised to see the beaker. Let us also look to find the reason for his surprise. The beaker had clear water. Mud, being heavy, had settled down at the bottom of the beaker, while the water formed the upper layer. This process of deposition of mud at the bottom of beaker is called sedimentation, and the layer of mud is called the sediment. Jack separated the upper layer of water from the mixture by gently pouring the clear water into another beaker without disturbing the sediment. This process of separation of a liquid from the sediment is called decantation. Similarly, there are other separation methods too. Let us discover them in this module. Children, after preparing tea, this tea stall owner pours the mixture into the tea strainer. The tea passes through the holes of tea strainer, leaving behind the tea leaves in it. This process of separation is known as filtration. Filtration, however, cannot remove the solid substances dissolved in a liquid. Sometimes fine particles of the solid component pass through the strainer that is used as the medium for filtration. In such a situation, filter paper is used. A filter paper is a special paper which has millions of tiny holes in it. While the liquid can pass through these holes, the solid particles remain on the filter paper. The liquid which passes through the filter paper is called the filtrate. The solid particles that are left behind the filter paper are called the residue. Let us do a workout. If you are given a mixture containing water, sand, and salt, how will you separate the three components from one another? You will leave the mixture undisturbed for a while to separate sand. Sand, which is heavy and insoluble in water, settles down at the bottom of container. The mixture is then separated by decantation to get sand. Now, as salt, being soluble, is completely dissolved in water. This is done through evaporation and condensation. Let us look what we mean by these two terms. When we have a mixture of salt in water to separate, we take the solution in a kettle and cover it with a lid. Now gently heat the kettle for some time. Heating transforms water into vapor that escapes from the spout of kettle. Continue heating till all the water gets converted into vapor and only salt is left behind in the kettle. Thus, salt dissolved in water can be separated from the water through this process. This process of conversion of water into vapor by heating is called evaporation. In order to obtain the water while heating the salt water, hold a plate containing ice just above the spout of the kettle. When the steam escaping through the spout comes in contact with the plate containing ice, it condenses and forms water. This process gives us back the water. This process of conversion of water vapor into water is called condensation. Water is a universal solvent. It dissolves many things, but there are certain items that do not dissolve in water. Collect sand, milk, lemon juice and wax. Also take some sugar and salt. Try to dissolve these materials in water separately. Make a table of your observations. Compare your observation table with the table shown on screen. Let us now do another workout. Take a beaker and dissolve some amount of salt in it. Go on adding salt to the solution. As long as the salt is dissolved in water, the solution is an unsaturated solution. But a stage will soon come when you will not be able to dissolve more salt in the solution. At this stage, the solution becomes saturated. Thus, a solution is said to be saturated if it cannot dissolve any more quantity of the given substance in it. Add a small quantity of salt to a saturated solution and heat it. What happens to the undissolved salt at the bottom of the beaker? Yes, it starts dissolving in the solution. Let this hot solution cool. Does the salt reappear to settle at the bottom of the beaker again? Yes, it does. Students, this activity shows that you can dissolve a large quantity of salt in water by heating. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Sedimentation is the process by which the insoluble heavy particles in a liquid are allowed to settle down. Decantation is the process by which a clear liquid obtained after sedimentation is transferred into another container without disturbing the settled particles. Filtration is the process of separating an insoluble solid component of a mixture from its liquid component by passing the mixture through a filter. The process of conversion of water into vapor by heating is called evaporation. The process of conversion of water vapor into water is called condensation. A solution which can dissolve more quantity of a given substance in it is called an unsaturated solution, whereas a solution which cannot do so is said to be saturated. Introduction. You are in a department store with your parents. Your mother wants to pick up grocery. Your father wants to look at some paintings. You want some music DVDs for yourself. The three of you head in three different directions in the department store. Why? Because all the objects in the store are categorized into different sections according to their types. Such organization is convenient and leads to better management. In this lesson, we will learn in detail about the basis for classification of materials. What makes life interesting is its variety. Look around yourself. You see people of different regions, speaking different languages, engaged in different professions, eating different food and pursuing different hobbies. That is not all. There is variety in all the goods that we use in our lives. Clothes that we wear are of different colors such as red, green, yellow, blue, etc. The containers we use for storage vary in shapes. They are conical, cylindrical, cuboidal, etc. The sofa sets and dining tables we use in our homes are made of wood or plastic. Based on our observation, we conclude that all objects have different shapes, color, and properties. All objects are made of one or more materials. Clothes are designed from cotton, linen, jute, nylon, etc. We use glass, stainless steel or plastic crockery in our homes. Furniture is made of wood, plastic, or even iron and stone. Leather, plastic, resin or jute is used to make bags, shoes and jackets. Vehicles such as scooters, cars, buses are made of steel. Therefore, we may say that objects around us are made up of a large variety of materials. A box is a cube or a cuboid, whereas a ball is a sphere. A laundry bag is cylindrical in shape, whereas a washing machine is cuboidal. Thus, we can say that we can classify objects on the basis of their shapes as well. Circular or spherical objects form one group, while cubical, cuboidal, square and rectangular objects form another group. Such a classification allows us to study and analyze the properties of different shapes. The first object you use as soon as you wake up is your toothbrush. Have you ever wondered what is it made up of? It is made up of plastic. The plate you have your breakfast in is made of melamine or stainless steel. The cupboard you keep your books or clothes in is made of iron or wood. The books that you read are made of paper. The shoes you wear are made of leather, canvas or resin. Thus, all the objects that we use in our day-to-day life can be classified on the basis of the raw materials used in making them. The water you drink to quench your thirst is liquid, whereas the food you eat is solid. The chilled juice you relish in summers is liquid, whereas the glass container you have it from is solid. The steaming hot milk you enjoy in winters is liquid, whereas the steam coming out of the milk is a gas. Thus, it is clear that all the objects that we see around us or use in our daily life can be classified into one of the three categories: solid, liquid, and gas. We have been looking at the different bases for classifying objects, that is, materials. Have you wondered why such classification is important? In our everyday life, we come across many materials. Sorting materials into groups plays an important role in our daily life because it is easy to locate similar objects by placing them together. Sorting materials into groups also facilitates study of their properties and allows us to observe patterns in their behavior. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Objects around us are of different shapes, color, and state. Objects are made of different materials. Objects can be classified on the basis of their shapes and color. They can be classified on the basis of the state of their matter. Yet another basis for classification is the raw material used to create objects. Sorting objects allows us to locate them easily. Sorting objects also allows us to study their properties. Introduction. Earth is known as the blue planet because of abundance of water on its surface. In fact, 70% of Earth's surface is covered by water. However, in summer, everyone talks of shortage of water. Strange, isn't it? What is even more strange is a couple of months later during monsoon, we talk of floods. In this lesson, we will learn about the effects of droughts and floods on Earth. We will also learn the ways to overcome these problems. Have you ever wondered where the rain and snow goes after reaching Earth? Rainwater flows as streams. It fills up ponds, lakes, and rivers. It falls into the sea and oceans. The snow falls on mountains and later melts into water. This water flows down the mountains in the form of streams and rivers. Thus, most of the water received from the sky finally flows into the oceans sooner or later. Not all the rainwater flows into rivers and ultimately into oceans. Some of it is absorbed by the soil as well. This water is known as groundwater. Groundwater is the source of water for many lakes and wells. Hand pumps and tube wells tap this source to provide water for consumption. However, overuse of groundwater has led to its depletion. As a result, we need to dig deeper and deeper to locate groundwater. In areas with little or no vegetation, the topsoil is loose and gets washed away by rainwater. Such areas get covered with concrete. As a result, there is reduced seepage of rainwater into the ground. This also contributes to reduction in groundwater. In our country, most of the rainfall occurs during June, July, and August. It gives us respite from the hot and humid summer. Sowing of many crops depends on monsoon. But what will happen if it rains heavily? Excessive rainfall leads to a rise in the water levels of ponds, lakes, and rivers, causing them to overflow. Such an overflow of these water bodies beyond their normal limits is known as floods. Floods destroy crops and cause damage to property and life. Floods triggered by heavy monsoon rains are an annual feature in India. Have you ever thought what will happen if it does not rain for a very long period? When it does not rain for a very long period, then the soil continuously loses water by evaporation and transpiration. The level of water in ponds and wells goes down, and some water bodies dry up. The groundwater also depletes. Prolonged periods of deficient water supply cause drought. Water can be obtained from natural sources only. A very small fraction of the total water available on earth is fit for use by plants, animals, and humans. The demand for usable water is increasing with rising population. As a result, the shortage of water is acute in various parts of the world. The scarcity is only likely to worsen in the coming years. So, we as responsible inhabitants of Mother Earth must conserve water and use it judiciously. If we collect and store all the rainwater that collects on our terraces, roads, and pavements instead of letting it run into ditches, we could actually have vast reserves of water. Collecting and storing of rainwater is called rainwater harvesting. The following are the techniques of rainwater harvesting. The rainwater is collected from the rooftop in a storage tank through pipes to be used later for various purposes. Alternately, instead of collecting the rainwater in a tank, the pipes can carry the rainwater to a pit dug in the ground. The rainwater then seeps into the soil to recharge or refill the groundwater. Another technique of rainwater harvesting is the one in which the runoff on the ground is used to recharge groundwater. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Excess rainfall causes flood, and no rainfall over a period of time causes drought. The amount of usable water on earth is limited, so it needs to be used wisely. Collecting and storing of rainwater is called rainwater harvesting. Water is essential for the survival of all living things, plants, animals, human beings, and other life forms. It covers 70% of our planet in the form of rivers, ponds, oceans, and streams, making Earth appear blue in color when seen from space. In fact, abundance of water has earned Earth the sobriquet, blue planet. Water is tasteless, odorless, and colorless. It dissolves many substances, so it is known as the universal solvent. It exists in nature in three states, that is, solid, liquid, and gas. In solid form, water is known as ice or snow. In gaseous form, water is known as water vapor or steam. But the most common form that water takes is the liquid form. It is in this form that it is known as water. A water molecule is made up of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. That is why water is represented by the chemical formula H2O. We use water for various different purposes. On an average, a human being consumes about 60,000 to 80,000 liters of water in his lifetime. Water is used in households for drinking, cooking, bathing, gardening, washing, and cleaning purposes. Irrigation facilities improve agricultural output and help meet the growing demand for food from a growing world population. Irrigation acts as an insurance against the vagaries of nature. Water is also used in industries for cooling purposes. It is used in many industries as a solvent. It is also used to generate electricity. Besides, recreational activities such as swimming, fishing, sailing, and other water sports require water. Have you wondered how, despite consumption of water by living things on Earth for hundreds of years, the balance of water on the planet has been maintained? It is the water cycle which makes it possible. The repeated changing of water in nature from liquid to gaseous form and then back to liquid form is called the water cycle. There are 4 main steps in water cycle. They are evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and collection. Let us try to understand how the water cycle operates. Water in oceans, seas, rivers, etc. gets heated up by the sun and turns into vapor. This process is known as evaporation. Plants absorb water from the soil. They use a part of this water to prepare their food and release the excess water into the air as water vapor. This process is called transpiration. The water vapor rises up in the air, cools and turns into tiny water droplets. These droplets come together to form clouds. This process is called condensation. When the clouds become too heavy, the water droplets in them fall on earth in the form of rain, hail, sleet, or snow. The process is known as precipitation. The water received by earth as rain, hail, or snow goes into the oceans, seas, rivers, and lakes. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Water is essential for life. Water vapor gets added to air by evaporation and transpiration. The water vapor in the air condenses to form tiny droplets of water which appear as clouds. The tiny droplets come together and fall down as rain, snow, or hail. Rain, snow, and hail supply water to rivers, lakes, ponds, wells, and soil. The water cycle is a natural process of circulation of water from the land to the sky and back to the land again.